So it's kind of burned out because I was at the Ted Danson convention, where we all cosplay as Ted Danson, and I went as the Cheers version of Ted Danson. So I don't know. I still came in fourth, which I was kind of bummed about because I put a lot of work into my costume. Whoa, easy. So yeah, I don't know. I was surprised that you weren't there though this year. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Hey, what? When did you get here?
I've been here the whole time.
Wow. Did you come with my PC? Cortana? Cortana? Who is this bearded man on my screen? Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your broke brother, and I'm here with Interview Series X. Interview Series X, and that means that we have Exhibit in the house. Actually, he is not here, but even better, we have Captain Xavier. He is going to be talking to us about all things nerfy and maybe even non-nerfy if he feels wacky enough to talk about it. But first off, I want to say hello to everybody, all of my nice lovelies in the chat here. What's going on? American Foam, NorCal Nerf Club, Spectre N7. Hey, Carte, yeah, what's up, my dude? David James is sitting right next to me, actually, and I'm using his Hangouts account right now. So we have Ryan Ingolstad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have NorCal Nerf Club and Monkeytron, Gargunkel, Trip Miller. We have even more, I think. Homely 665. What is going on? Boom Tendo, California Nerfer 99. What is shaking? And if I missed you, it means I probably strongly dislike you. I am just kidding. It just means I probably didn't see you on there. But yes, thank you everybody for being here. As you can see, my camera still isn't set up. I've been having technical issues for the past month, which is why I haven't uploaded any of that meaty content for you guys that has been edited, because the device that I used to edit everything on went kaput. So I've been trying to do everything on my laptop, but since my laptop is going kaput now and I'm using David's laptop right now for this, it may be a little bit longer, and I apologize for that, and I apologize to my patrons for that as well. And speaking of my patrons, I want to thank my patrons right now: Homely 665, BiggsNZ, Newport Nerfer113, American Foam, NerfTurfBattle, Slaedur, and multimedia company, which he goes by another name now, but I don't remember which one it is. So I apologize for that. But all their links are in the description below if they are a tier 2 or tier 3 patron. And if they are a tier 1 peasant, they don't have their links in the description. Step your game up, guys. Come on. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you all. You are all wonderful people. So anyways, I am here today with my good friend, and I want to say even my best friend. I've known him since I was like 3 years old. We got into the hobby together. Captain Xavier, what's going on?
What? You talking about me?
No,
I know about this man before in my life.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know. I think my device was hacked. I don't think you heard me correctly.
There's a lot of that going on.
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. I'm having a good day. It's Friday.
I was having a good day until we started getting into all the technical issues, and I was kind of embarrassed there for a minute, to be honest. I felt small. But we had some technical issues earlier. I had to switch devices and everything. And it looked like amateur hour over here. So Captain Xavier was just looking on with a strange look on his face. Like what did I just get into? But if you guys haven't been on this, if you haven't seen one of my live streams before, make sure if you have questions for the good captain here to put at Broke Nerfing in the chat, and that will highlight your comment, and I will be able to see it and I will be able to ask it and relay that to Captain Xavier. So put @BrokeNerfing and then your question. Then I will be able to ask the captain, whatever question it is that you have. And I encourage you to all ask questions and be active and get your voice heard, guys. All right. But are you ready, Captain Xavier, to get this train rolling down the tracks there?
Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing, man. So first off, for the viewers that may not know, who are you and where are you from?
I'm Captain Xavier. Real name's Chelo Lorino. I live in Tacoma, Washington at the moment. That may be changing soon. I got into nerfing back in 2011 through HVZ at my local college, and then it's just kind of escalated from there.
You got into it in 2011?
Yeah.
Wow, that's been actually because earlier when we were talking, I thought you said 2 years. That you've been in this, that you got into it 2 years ago.
No, that's how long my YouTube channel has existed.
Ah, there we go. Okay. So
I was nerfing long before I thought to do a YouTube channel.
Wow, man. 2000. I didn't even realize HVZ was going on in 2011, to be honest. I thought that was kind of more in the last like 3 or 4 years. So when did you, so you started doing this in 2011, how did you get involved in this HVZ event that you went to then?
The one this last weekend at Penn State, or previous ones?
No. And back in 2011 when you first got into the hobby. Yeah. What event was that, and how did you get into it?
It was the University of Idaho's Humans versus Zombies game, and I just graduated from the University of Idaho, so I was an alumni. I still had friends that were going there, and we saw it going on campus and went and talked to the mods and said, hey, how can we get in on this? But the game had already started, so we ended up talking about going into the next game where we ended up playing NPCs for them, non-player characters, because we were a private security company. We had all this tactical gear and all this training. We said, hey, would you like us to come and add some flavor and some interest and look cool and slay zombies and die valiantly? And they said, that sounds awesome. So we got to do that for 2 years. And then we got invited to do the same thing at Washington State University, which is just 9 miles west. And we did that for a couple of years. I don't even remember how many different games we went to for them, 7 or 8, I think. And then when I moved out here, I started looking into the NERF scene here on the West Coast, ran into Walcom, and that's how my channel ended up getting started. And now I'm traveling all over the country going to NERF events.
Wow, man. So you got into this 2011, got into HVZ on the same campus that you were basically just graduating from, and now would you say HVZ is your favorite game type that you play, or do you have others that you prefer more than HVZ?
HVZ is probably the one I enjoy the most. We do local Nerf wars as well, and those are a lot of fun. They're very, very different. We do a lot of weird and different scenarios in those. And what I love about HVZ is every single HVZ I've been to has been extremely different. They have different rules, different missions, different mechanics for how the zombies work, and it's always something new and something exciting, and you never know what's going to be going on. So definitely like HVZ. I like that they're usually very large. They're usually on a big college campus, so you've got a lot of room to run around and play, and it's just really exciting and fun.
Yeah, my first time playing HVZ on a large scale was at Ragnaroktoberfest, where I actually met you there. And that was the first time playing anything on a large scale. We played it we played it in a small level at the schools around here and at the church. But that was the first real big one. And that was such a blast, man. It was so fun. I could totally see how someone, new to this would go into an HVZ game and just fall in love with the hobby. I mean, it's just a great experience. When you see a zombie coming at you, especially when the game runs at night, you actually feel like if he touches you, it's over for you. You know what I mean? Like, at least I did. I felt like if I got tagged, dude, it was curtains for me, man. So I really was getting into the mindset of the game, and it's just such a blast, So I could totally see how that would get you involved in the hobby much more. Did you start going to more games of, right away after going to the first one, or was it kind of a gradual thing where you were just kind of checking it out more and more?
It was a very gradual thing because there weren't a lot of games where I was in northern Idaho. There was the U of I game, and we did 2 of those, and then their whole system changed, and we ended up having a lot more fun over at WSU. But there weren't any large Nerf wars in that area, and there weren't any other schools doing them besides those 2. So we got to do those basically once a semester. Was all the involvement we had with NERF for the first couple of years, and then it was when I moved out here 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, that my involvement in the NERF hobby suddenly went through the roof, and my channel and travel and all of that craziness.
Oh wow, yeah. Now your loadout, what is basically for HVZ, correct? Like the ones I always see you with the heavy loadouts. That's
yeah, the super heavy loadout that you see me in was developed for WSU's HVZ because we were playing, again, NPCs. We weren't playing regular humans. And so the rules and the mechanics were different for us. I would never wear a loadout that ridiculously heavy if I were a human because you couldn't run. You couldn't escape. You'd be just a giant slow-moving target. Even with all the firepower that it has, it wouldn't save you. And it's not supposed to. It's supposed to allow you to have a knockdown, drag-out last stand where you go all guns blazing. Mm-hmm. And since I'm playing an NPC where I just respawn in 5 minutes, it's okay. That's a mechanic you can use, and you can use a loadout like that. Whereas if you're playing as a human, you only get to die the one time, and then you're a zombie for the rest of the game in most games the way it's played. So yeah, that one was specifically tailored for their style of HVZ. It wouldn't necessarily work in other games, but it was a lot of fun developing that over the years and getting to the point of being genuinely absurd, which is it's the way I play.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally appreciate that. The more ridiculous the ensemble, the armor, the masks. I mean, I can't do that because I'm not talented enough really to make stuff that looks that good, but also that I have a back injury, and wearing like a lot of gear and stuff is kind of difficult for me to, it's already hard for me to move around anyways with just a primary and that's it. But, putting on too much is really difficult for me, but I love seeing what people come up with and, seeing the mods that they make, like the big ridiculous ones are super cool. So yeah, I definitely do enjoy that aspect of the hobby. Speaking of mods and everything, what was the first blaster that you actually modified, and when was it that you first started modding?
If you want to be technical, the very first mod I ever did was I painted a barrel break. I had my Stampede that I'd gotten a barricade as well, and then I got a barrel break because I wanted a shotgun, strapped over my shoulder. And I found one on Craigslist, and it unfortunately turned out to be the clear green one instead of the yellow ones. So it didn't match my ensemble, and I like my ensemble to match. So I decided to paint it, and then while I was at it, I went ahead and painted all 3 of them. So they now were all black and orange, and that's how I ended up with the color scheme that I have now. It was purely convenience. I was a starving college student. I could afford a black can of spray paint. And so that's how my aesthetic was formed. The first big mod that I did was actually Ire, my Stampede, the Stampede that is now Ire, that is one of the centerpieces of my collection, was that first Stampede, that first Nerf blaster that I ever bought. I have just continued to tinker with that for the last 9 years, and it's also reached genuinely absurd levels, and I love it.
Oh, that's killer. I love Stampedes even myself. I don't have one. I've used them and I freaking love them, man. And other people are always like, oh, why don't you just get a Rapid Strike? It's like, well, if I wanted a Rapid Strike, I would get one. But I think the Stampede's really cool, man. Just the noise.
I like the recoil. I like the noise. I like the size.
It's so gratifying.
It's a very controllable rate of fire, which is very important for HVZ.
It's important.
You can do full auto and just pose if you need to, but you can very easily do single shots, and it's reliable.
Absolutely. I am very big into ammo and keeping my ammunition at the, you know, not expending too much. I like semi-automatics a lot, but yeah, it's when I first started getting in this hobby, and especially when I first started getting into BTA, the Blaster Tag Association, we did the competitive 5-on-5 King of the Hill. I was running through my mag so quick, like within like the first couple minutes. I had no idea how to, you know, how to say. I was aiming at everything and firing at everything, not even, you know, just not even things I knew I could hit. Just I was just laying so much foam down and having to run around and pick up darts. So, you know, a Stampede is perfect for me in the way of saving my darts. We got a few questions already in the chat. Someone asked, and I want to go ahead and ask this right now, was who was it here? Someone asked if the police are still after you, and I want to know what's up with that. And then I'll find a name in a minute. But what's going on with that there, bud?
I live in Tacoma, Washington, and just about any time I try to film a video, at least one police car will go down 38th Street that's right by me. And so you constantly hear sirens in the background of my videos. And rather than editing it out, I just make a joke about it now, going, they're after me. They still haven't found the undisclosed bunker.
Oh, okay. It was Samson 7180. So he was asking if the police were after you.
Probably. They're still trying to find those guys that broke into that hotel in France. I don't know what that was about.
Man. And also we had a question from American Foam, who was just actually at the Penn State HVZ event that you were just at. He's a friend of mine. He said, Broke Nerfing, as a patron of you both, of both you guys, could you ask about his makerspace and how it's coming along? And he said also playing alongside Cap was pretty darn cool. But yeah, I wanted to get into the makerspace as well. Could you discuss that a bit?
So my current long-term goal is to acquire my own property that has a large enough shop for me to set up my own makerspace. I want to have at least 6 full workstations with full sets of tools, you know, a Dremel, a drill, a glue gun, cordless screwdriver, soldering iron, all of those each in their own station, so that I can then host full mod parties where you don't need to bring any tools. Everything is provided. I'm hoping to fund it through my Patreon so that things like motors, flywheel cages, wheels, switches, wire, springs, all of those are provided free of charge. The only thing you would need to bring would be if you want to mod a very, you know, a large expensive blaster. I probably wouldn't have piles of those lying around, but the smaller stuff that I can find at Goodwill would also be available. And then I want to host events. I want enough land that I can host my own Nerf wars on my property, so we don't have to worry about, you know, people wandering through, or whether or not the police are going to get called because we're nerfing in a park. We don't have to worry about, you know, a curfew going too late. People can, you know, stay as long as they want. And then once the Nerf war is over, we all retire back to the makerspace, tinker with our blasters, eat pizza, and have a good time.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still congested from these allergies. That's an awesome idea, actually. I really do like that. And you want to set it up through Patreon? Will it be now the people who come there to do mod parties? Will there be like a donation bin or something that they could support the makerspace?
Absolutely. If people want to donate, they're perfectly welcome to. If they have old blasters that they're willing to donate, that'd be fine. If they want to donate snacks to the mini fridge in the lounge area, whatever, anything they want to give, we perfectly accept it. But there won't be ever be a flat charge to use the space.
Oh wow, I like that. I like that a lot. And that's going to be there in Tacoma, Washington, you say, or did you say that?
No, I doubt it'll actually end up in Tacoma, just because the kinds of properties that I'm looking for, you're not going to find in a big city. There isn't going to be enough land. So I'm looking at places further south, kind of between Olympia and Vancouver, because that's old farmstead country. And there are a lot of old farmhouses that have, you know, a big shop and a fair amount of land still from when they, you know, generally they sold the land, the actual farmland, off to some big farming corporation, but they usually kept a couple of acres for themselves. And those are the kinds of places that I'm looking at. And it's just a matter of saving up the money for the down payment at this point. So,
yeah, that's a great idea. I actually, I really like that. And I will be putting a link to that, to Do you have a special fund for that idea, or just through your Patreon?
Yeah, I have both the Patreon, and then I did actually set up a GoFundMe because enough people asked me to, because they wanted to throw money at the project, and that actually already completed. I set it for only I set it for 3,000, which was a tenth of a down payment, so 100th of the house, and it actually completed. So that, but you can always give more if you feel like it, and all of that again will either go towards the down payment for the place, or barring that, it'll go to buying tools and building workbenches and acquiring the materials, the springs and the motors and all of that once that gets up and running.
Awesome. I will throw a link after this stream ends. I'll get with you about putting a link to into the description of this stream so people can donate to the project somehow if they wish to. So I think that's a good idea, and I think a lot of people would like to donate to this. So you were at Penn State. How was that? How did that go, man?
That was the largest HVZ I've been to so far, I believe.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure it was larger than Ragnarok Oktoberfest. It was 428 people.
Oh, wow.
And it was an absolute blast. The mod team that they had did an absolutely incredible job at keeping things on schedule, at having everything run relatively smoothly. They ran a really interesting game with very different missions each time that were, it was just really, really well run, and I really enjoyed it, and very much hoping to go back or to similar events up in that area, because I want to visit 6 places in the country every year, something in the Northwest, Southwest, Northeast, Southeast, and then North Midwest and South Midwest, just so that I can, visit as many people as possible, meet as many people as possible.
Awesome. So how many states have you gone to so far just to play HVZ, or just to NERF in particularly?
Well, Washington, Oregon, California, Texas, Maryland, and Pennsylvania so far. Later this year, I'll be in Minnesota and Utah and Georgia.
Dang, that's incredible. I would love to travel around and go fling foam, man. That's super cool. Dude, you're living the dream, Cap. What's going on?
I really am. It's really quite fantastic.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. So someone was asking about End War. Let me go back and make sure they get the credit for asking. Oh, it was Spectre N7, and he was asking if you're going to be at FoamCon exhibiting this year.
Yes, there will be a booth for myself, the crew, and the crew auxiliary. It's just going to be one big booth of just us, mostly sitting down and hanging out and selling patches and yelling bangarang a lot, probably.
So how many of the kids that yell bangarang actually know what it's from? Because I see some like 10-year-old kid in a video go bangarang, and I was like, has he even seen that movie?
Probably not. That was something that was recommended by one of the older nerfers, because oddly enough, for the first about year and a half of my channel, the average age was between 25 and 35, because my channel is primarily educational, as opposed to the pure entertainment channels like PDK or Aaron Esser, which are or even Coop at this point, that are geared more towards a younger audience. Because they are the larger audience, it makes a lot more sense. But I got into YouTube for the education of it, teaching the soldering and the wiring and all of that, which is going to be above the head of most 12-year-olds. As the channel has grown, and since I've been featured on Drax's channel and Aaron Esser's channel and Coop's channel, I've picked up a much broader group. So the auxiliary has people between the ages of 12 and 62, with spikes in the teens and spikes in the 20s and spikes in the 30s. And so us in the 20s and 30s, we remember Hook. We know what we're yelling. The rest of them, it just sounds cool. Yeah.
I just want to go Rufio. Oh,
yeah.
I actually grew up in the same area as Rufio did. The guy who played Rufio, he grew up in the same. Yeah. He grew up like a city next to mine. And my best friend actually had a Hook trading card with his signature on it, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I was really jealous that he had it. So we had a couple more questions here right now that I wanted to make sure I didn't skim past. Narrowmania asked, question for Cap. How are you doing today, sir? From Narrow.
I'm doing lovely. Slept well, got my work done for my real job pretty much before noon, took a nap, and now I'm here.
Oh man, that's a great story.
It's a rough life.
No, I'm telling you, man. Things are tough all over.
It's just brutal. I don't know how I make it through the day.
How many years have you been going to End War now? Is this going to be your...
I have never been to End War. This will be my first year.
Wow. I figured you'd been there before, you know? So, wow. Okay. So you haven't been there. I haven't either. Ain't that nuts? Wow. So,
previously,
yeah, I mean, especially
with another event that I usually go to, and this year I decided to go to End War instead of that event. So, mostly because I was the crew, the mercenary company that I have has actually been hired to go.
Oh wow!
So someone is actually paying for our airfare for us to go to that event. So we're like, well, all right, I guess we'll show up.
Yeah.
So there'll be me and four of my. Actually, there'll be more than that. There'll be I think 6 of my actual professional crew, and then we're gonna have. I don't even know how many auxiliary are going to be there. Well over 100 at this point. I mean, there were 100 at Penn State. So.
Oh wow, man. How many were at Jared's Epic Nerf War? There must have been a lot.
Probably
too.
About 30. I think there are about
really?
30 at that one.
Oh, I figured there would have been more there, actually.
Well, the auxiliary had only existed for a couple of 2 months at that point, so it was still fairly new. The fact that we're only been around for 4 months and have 1,000 members spread out over 6 continents is baffling to me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I don't know a whole lot about it. I apologize. I did join the Facebook group a few weeks back when we were preparing to get you on here. I joined the group. So I wanted to ask you, what is the Crew Auxiliary? If you could explain what that is for all the viewers right now.
It's a somewhat nebulous concept. The crew is, like I said, the private mercenary company that I founded 18 years ago with Sergeant Major Kyle. We eventually actually incorporated as a private security company, so we are quite literally real-world mercenaries. We started out doing it in medieval recreation and all of that, but we've always been a mercenary company, and occasionally we'd end up picking up fighters who weren't part of the crew, but were fighting on our side or were fighting with us or what have you. And so they became auxiliary soldiers as opposed to regular soldiers. They were more like, militia, or auxiliary is the term. And then when we went to Ragnar Oktoberfest and I didn't have any of my regular crew with me, and I ended up one of the team captains, everyone on my team was there for auxiliary. And several of the guys that were there then asked about becoming members of my actual crew. And so we now have a local chapter of that. But since I was going to be traveling to all of these different events, I knew I was going to travel to at least 6 major events this year. I knew I would have a lot more fun if I had an army, because that's just my personality. And so I decided to expand the concept of the auxiliary and open it up to anybody, anywhere that wanted to be part of the crew's auxiliary. And that would mean basically allies or irregulars or militia, or however they wanted to view their membership in the auxiliary. So anyone who was going to End War that wanted to run with us and coordinate with us and be part of a larger overall strategy and work on tactics with us, that was what the auxiliary was meant to be. What it has become is way more than I ever expected it to be. It's rapidly becoming a very large and diverse NERF community that is built around camaraderie and making the game more fun for everybody. A lot of people have noted a lot of toxic behavior in a lot of the older, more established NERF communities, some of the Facebook boards and the Reddit threads, and we don't allow that in the auxiliary. I try to avoid it as much as possible, and I have my NCOs and my officers keeping an eye on it, making sure people aren't being bullies or just being unnecessarily negative or rude or anything like that, because there's no point in our hobby to have that kind of behavior. And so the auxiliary is working towards fostering a community of camaraderie of everything is cool. I don't care how, you know, your tack gear is made entirely out of duct tape. Well done. So was mine when I first joined. My first holsters were made out of duct tape and strapping tape and sheet metal. You know, now I have the means and the skills and the tools and the funds to be able to get really fancy stuff, but not everybody does. And so that community fosters that kind of thing of, have you tried, you know, someone like, I made holsters out of duct tape, but it ripped. Well, have you considered adding strapping tape? It's a lot sturdier, and then duct tape over that, stuff like that. A lot of people have noted that they've asked the same question on other boards and just got made fun of. They come to the auxiliary and they ask the same question, and they get schematics, they get advice, they get links to the answers to their questions. And it's really been wonderful to see that forming, because I never expected that when I started it.
Yeah, I was very surprised when I went and I joined the group, and it said over 1,000 members on the Facebook group. And yeah, it's very new. It's a very new Facebook group as well. So I was really surprised to see so many people, and it's really cool that in these videos that I have seen of other people who are members of the crew auxiliary and their events. One in particular, Jackal Nerf. You know, I met him on YouTube like about a year ago, before I even had my own channel. And you know, and he's a member, and he posted a video, and he seemed like he seemed like so positive about it. And you know, going to Jared's Epic Nerf Battle and having friends there already, you know, not that he was just going to go and not know where to go or what to do, but you know, he's going to go there, and he has 30 friends waiting for him. You know, he was showing himself in the car and like, hey man, I got, you know, there's the crew, there's the auxiliary already lined it up in front. So I think that's also really cool too, because it's so inviting for people who maybe don't have a lot of friends and they want to get in this hobby. And you know, it's just a way to kind of meet other people. You know, there's the group that I'm going to be with, you know, hey, what's up auxiliary? You know, what's up crew? So it's, you know, you're going to have some friends there already to go and fling foam with. So, you know, I think for that, you know, the camaraderie is really an awesome thing. I think it's a positive thing. And I really hope we don't see the toxicity that I have heard has infected other groups, you know, in the Nerf online community, you know, kind of rear its ugly head in your soup over there. You know, I'd really hate to see that, because I think your heart's in the right place.
Because the auxiliary's membership, the only thing you have to do to join the auxiliary is want to join the auxiliary. And so there's no filter as far as allowing people in. If we see behavior that is unacceptable or that is not in keeping with the auxiliary, you know, we'll contact the person and say, hey, this isn't acceptable. You need to stop doing this. And if they don't, then we will drum them out. I have a fairly zero tolerance for trolls. I have zero tolerance on my channel. I have zero tolerance in the crews. If you're there just to cause trouble, you don't need to be here. You can go. But for the most part, when somebody, you know, says something, we're like, well, you know, and a lot of it's just, that's the way they've always seen it on every other board. And so the, you know, the deploy sucks memes, or the, you know, throw that blaster away and buy this other blaster comments that you see on every other board, they get called out. They're like, no, you know, there's no point to that comment. If you're not going to make a useful comment, just don't comment at all. You don't need to be negative. You can, you know, say something positive or don't say anything. And you can have, you know, criticism. You know, somebody asks, you know, what do you guys think of this blaster? You can say, well, here's why I don't like it. And someone else will say, well, here's what I do like about it. And someone else will come in and go, here are the things you can do to fix the problems that other guy didn't like about it. And it's useful. It's positive. It helps the community grow, as opposed to saying, oh, just throw it away and buy this other one that's better. Well, I mean, they might not have the money to do that. This might be something that was given to them and it's the only blaster they have. You know, think about what you're saying, as opposed to just parroting the negativity that you've seen on every other board.
It's funny, because the first time I saw deploy, someone brought it here to the Nerf night that we hold here at the church. It was one of the clear ones, and you know, he brought it out and he popped it open. You know, it popped out the way it does, and I looked, I was like, damn, that's so cool. And all these people were like, the deploy, oh my god, I will pay you $5 for every tag you get, and, you know, and I was like, well, what's the big deal, man? I think that looks freaking cool, you know, because I was just fresh in the hobby. I had no idea of all the stigmas about any blasters or anything. So, yeah, I mean, my first impressions were like, dude, that's freaking sweet, dude. It's so cool. But
yeah, and for a lot of the people that were into Nerf when the deploy first came out, yeah, it was the coolest blaster. And back then, it was every bit as powerful as anything else that was coming out, because everything back then was reverse plunger. They were all poor compared to today's standards.
yeah,
The difference is that most of those, you can modify them, or they came out with elite versions of it that then replaced the old versions. There is no elite deploy. So it's still as poor as it always was, but now it's suffering by comparison.
yeah.
But as I point out, it's a gold mine for parts. It has some of the best parts.
The people in the chat are talking about Reddit, when we were speaking about the toxicity of the, internet community, and they were saying things about Reddit. My first experience on Reddit was really poor, man. I would always check out the RNerf, but I would never post in there. And then one day when I hit 500 subscribers on my channel and I was doing a giveaway, I was pretty stoked, I was like, yeah, and I'm going to give some things away. So I posted about my giveaway on Reddit. It was like my first post. And some I got downvoted, and the first comment on there was he was like, you use FEJs and you use IMRs, you're a war criminal. That was the very first comment I got. I was like, dude. But yeah,
I'm sure there's many an angry Reddit thread about me. Probably, I know there was a very negative one about when I first announced the makerspace.
oh, wow.
And people were like, he's just stealing from the community, and he, most people who are giving aren't going to be able to get anything out of it, and why would I donate if I can't ever make it to the space? And if that's your attitude, then this isn't for you.
Yeah.
There are people who are willing to donate to help other people. It's called empathy, and you just don't get that on the internet. That's the problem, is the lack of face-to-face interaction. There, you can't have empathy on the internet, which is why it's such a horrible place.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone's choice if they want to support the community and put their own hard-earned money into something that you're creating. It's not that, just because they're taking your donations, it doesn't, your support, it doesn't mean they're just taking your money. That's what it's all about. It's people are willing to support things that they feel that they have a passion for, and they feel that will be good for the hobby. So I see nothing wrong with that. Some people tend to have
2 years
issues.
before I created a Patreon.
Oh wow.
Because when I first got into to YouTube, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to produce enough content, or content that anyone would want to watch, to justify having people give me money. But people kept asking, hey, do you have a Patreon? I've watched enough of your videos and they've helped me enough. I want to give you something back. And once I decided I wanted to make the makerspace, and I realized this is going to take a lot of money to be able to fund this and to be able to build it in the first place. And especially the down payment was the biggest hurdle, though that's largely been dealt with now. I finally did go ahead and create the Patreon, and I will expand it more, and once I actually have something to show for it, because currently I don't. I keep talking about the makerspace, and there's yet to be any concrete movement forward, because until I can buy the place, I can't do anything, and that's just a matter of getting the funds.
Yeah.
But then once I finally do get it, which it is only a matter of time, because I've decided this is happening and I'm going to make it happen. And luckily my real job, affords me enough that I've been able to put a lot of money towards that. And so it is going to happen. And then suddenly there will be this explosion of, this is the thing I've created. Here's the community that it is serving. Here's how much it's helping. And a number of other people, at least 2 other people that I know of, have said, I want to do that too. And someday I will have that. And so it is already spreading. And so eventually there will be, what we're referring to them are forts. Auxiliary forts will be the maker spaces that Auxiliary create around the country, that anybody will be able to come to, or hopefully other people can set them up however they want. I want mine to be free of charge, but other people might not have the financial freedom to be able to do that, and they will need to charge a cover fee to come in and use my tools to replace the solder and the hot glue and the wire and whatever else. I have the luxury of being able to, that I know I'm going to be able to fund that through my Patreon or through my YouTube or through whatever else. So, yeah, it is going to grow and will serve the community, and I'm hoping that it will be the catalyst of, hey, we could make this hobby way better if we had people willing to do it, and if they just, some of them, it just may have never occurred to them. You know, that's it hadn't occurred to me for the longest time, and then I was like, everyone kept coming to my shop to use my tools anyway because I had all of the tools. Because I joined NERF after being in medieval recreation, so I had, you know, drill press, bandsaw, belt sander, bench grinder, you know, drills. I had all of these power tools that most people don't have that make NERF modding so much easier.
Yeah.
And so everyone would come to my shop anyway, and then I decided, well, let's host a mod party. And then we realized there isn't enough room and there aren't enough tools to go around. So I got the idea of, well, maybe I need a bigger place, and then I could fill it with more tools, and then everybody could come, and it would be fantastic. So that's how it came about, and it's already spreading, and that's awesome.
And there is such a big application for this. I mean, getting into this hobby without any tools whatsoever is it's very, very difficult. I only had like a screwdriver, a few screwdrivers when I first got it, you know, when I started modding, and that was it. So I was going to Walmart and going, you know, here and there, just getting these tools, and even getting the cheap brands, it still adds up, you know, it adds up.
Does.
Oh, wow.
It really does. Things like a Dremel and a drill and a good file set and all of that, it really adds up very quickly.
Absolutely.
And for the people who have the tools, yeah, it feels like a cheap hobby because springs aren't really expensive. Motors aren't really expensive. But that's because you already have all the tools necessary. You have a soldering iron. You know how to use it. And so, yeah, that's kind of the thing. When people first get into the hobby and they don't have the infrastructure yet, that's why you see things like IMRs continue to get used. Because you don't need any tools to use them. You just throw them in your stock blaster with a couple of dummy batteries, and it gives you a boost. It's a bad practice, but you can afford it. You know, when you have $10 to do your mod, you can do that. To get into LiPo, you're looking at a minimum of $100 investment. And that's a lot of money for somebody first getting into this hobby, especially if you're not sure how far you want to go into it.
Yeah.
You know, it is definitely a rabbit hole that you can fall into and spend hundreds of dollars on a blaster easily.
Yeah, this hobby is not, it's not very cheap. But
yeah, I mean,
something like that would help a lot, like the makerspace.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I want to do that, to allow people to get into it more so. And you know, obviously there'll be points where, okay, we've rewired your blaster for LiPo and I can provide everything to do the rewiring, but you're on the hook for the battery.
Yeah.
But it will cut the cost of getting into it, you know, by down to a third, probably at least, not having to have to buy the tools and all of that. Where all you need is the charger and the LiPo. Yeah, LiPo chargers are expensive, and LiPos aren't the cheapest. But if you can get into everything else, then you can do that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so I definitely look forward to the makerspace coming to fruition. I think that's an awesome idea, and yeah, I definitely look forward to that. We got a couple more questions that popped up. Homely665, he asked, in the past, Captain stated that he would only do End War if he were able to be an NPC. Any news on that front?
I'm actually going not as an NPC. And that is largely because I'm going to be showing up with 6 trained crew members and 100 auxiliary. I'll probably still get targeted by every zombie out there, and I will almost certainly get tagged out in the first 15 minutes. But I'm okay with that because I'll then get to watch the auxiliary in action. Which was awesome at Penn State once I got taken out, and you know, yeah, I respawned at the end of every mission because that's how the mods decided to utilize me. But I did then get to see auxiliary operating without me and pulling together and working very well, and a large number of the people who made it to the very end were auxiliary, and that was really, really cool.
So do you guys actually you and the crew, do you guys talk strategy online or anything before going to the events, or like,
we actually do it in person?
Oh, cool.
For the most part, the original crew was formed when I lived in Moscow, Idaho, and the majority of my veterans are still either in Moscow or Spokane. Though we also have crew spread out all over the world at this point because we all grew up and got jobs and moved away. Many joined the army, and but then when I moved out here, that was a long ways apart, and that's why I finally formed a new garrison up here from the local NERF community. There were a number of guys who really fit the bill for the kind of personality and the game type and the play type that really fits into the crew's style. And so I've got five or six guys up here now. We're actually meeting tomorrow to get ready for Afterworlds, which is a post-apocalyptic LARP that takes place down in Oregon, that we're going to as NPCs because they need a very particular group of people. They need a heavily armed, well-organized militia type for their storyline. That's what their story is calling for. And like, well, I happen to be exactly that. Would you like me to bring my guys? Like, yes, that would be awesome. So we're going to go down there, and yeah, we're going to be going through their rules, because just like I said, every HVZ has slightly different rules on the way zombies work. Afterworlds has their own rules, and so we're going to be going through the manual cover to cover and working out strategies and preparing loadouts and working on them. Most of the local guys don't have much in the way of sword training. Mm-hmm. Some of them have a little bit, but not nearly as much as my veterans in Idaho and Western or Eastern Washington did, because we came to NERF from medieval recreation. We were all trained swordsmen. And so they would be a lot more valuable here at Afterworlds, because Afterworlds is mostly melee as opposed to firearms, because it's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
The player's ammunition is a massive commodity, whereas your sword doesn't run out of bullets. So I'm hoping to get my guys a little more trained up in melee combat, though we are supposed to go heavy guns because they are more powerful and we're supposed to be the bad guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. And my guys are absolutely stoked about the opportunity to go and do that, because while I don't know that any of them have done a lot in the way of LARP, they are all tabletop gamers, and they all do NERF. And this is basically the combination of those two hobbies. And so they're just chomping at the bit to get in there and run amok. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, LARP does sound like a good time. I mean, it's very similar to what we do in a sense, I think.
Yeah, most people don't think of it, but HVZ is unquestionably a LARP.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are pretending to be humans in an apocalypse, fighting people pretending to be zombies. There is no clearer... That's LARP. You are role-playing those things. It is live. It is active. It is live, active role-playing. Come to grips with it. It's not, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt style of LARP. But you are pretending to be a zombie. How much more role-play do you get? And the more you get into it, the more fun you're going to have. The zombies that really get into playing zombies are having way more fun than the people who aren't. And that's one of the reasons we get into the whole, all dressing up in all the tactical gear and getting into the whole military discipline and squads and NCOs and commands. It makes it more fun. In addition to making it far more efficient as far as surviving, it just makes it more fun.
Totally. We had a question from Scooter Girl. She was asking if you're going to be at Foam Fest, or no, was it Foam Fest? I'm getting confused with FoamCon and Foam Fest together. All these foam things.
Yeah, Foam Fest is in the UK, I believe.
UK one. Okay. I didn't want to mix it up with FoamCon. Foam Fest. She's asking if you're going to be at Foam Fest 2020.
That is my plan, yes.
Awesome.
Next year, 2020, I'm hoping to go international. I'm hoping to get to England for Foam Fest and Australia for something. I don't know what yet. But those are the two countries I want to get to next year, if at all possible, which should be possible.
Right on. And also another question, Cartea is asking about Armageddon, if you're going to be making it to Armageddon this year.
Probably not. I had to pick which events I wanted to go to, and I picked the 6 that I did because of the locations. Armageddon is on the list for 2020 as a possible replacement for one of the other events, because I do have limited time, and I do have a real job and have to pick which events I'm going to go to. And I want to go to different events each year. I don't want to always go to the same 6 events. I want to shuffle it around, but still get to an event in the 6 main parts of the country, as well as start getting international, which means I may have to start dropping. Like, I probably won't go to Jared's Epic Nerf Battle next year. I'll pick a different event. And I may not go to End War next year. I may pick a different Southeast event, but we'll see. But Armageddon is definitely on the list to an event I want to eventually get to.
It's good to have those options, man. I would love to have to choose between one or the other.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a first world problem.
Narrowmania, he's asking, would you ever decide to terrify people by trimming or shaving that glorious beard, sir?
No. Well, I trim it in the summer when it gets too warm, but I have not completely shaved my beard since I was 18. And that was my senior prank. Because my beard came in when I was 16. And so nobody I'd come to that high school when I was 16. So nobody in that school had ever seen me without a beard. And I had long hair the whole time. So for my senior prank, I got a haircut, I shaved my beard, I got new clothes, I put on glasses, I put on a Southern accent and came to school as a new student. And it took some people a week to figure it out.
Mine still hasn't come in. And
I do now have beard oil. I'd never had beard oil before. Somebody at PSU gave me beard oil.
Does that go along with your mustache wax?
I believe so. I believe it is a similar concept. It's basically, I think it's like conditioner. I'm not sure. I'm saving it until the winter when I grow out my winter coat. Then I will give it a try. Apparently the company that they bought it from saw the video and is now sending me a full care package. So I may end up trying some of it sooner. I'm a shameless fan of free stuff. I have never made any bones about that. I love free stuff.
Oh, who doesn't? You know, I love free stuff. Any companies that are watching by chance, I would love to take your stuff. Maybe not the beard. Maybe not the beard.
Not the beard oil. Yeah. Beard oil is not for you.
No, I made. Yeah, David would take beard oil from me. Gargunkel is asking a question here. He said, question, silly perhaps, but something I've been wondering about. The workshop seems to be a garage. Does he have to use a space heater and an air conditioner?
Yeah, it is a garage, and it's not insulated. And yeah, in the winter, it gets cold, but I grew up in Minnesota, so I am well aware of the virtue of layers. You wear multiple layers of warm clothing and it will keep you warm. And in the winter, oh yeah, it gets very unpleasant in here. And I'll have fans going. I don't have an air conditioner out here, but I do set up a box fan and blow the warm air around, and it helps a little bit. That is something that's on the list of things to look at when I get shot, when I'm looking for makerspace locations. Is it insulated? Is it going to be warm? Am I going to die? What's going to happen? But the weather here isn't too terribly extreme. The Pacific Northwest is a fairly temperate zone, especially on the coast. In Idaho, it was worse, but the shop that I had there was insulated and had an air conditioner, so that wasn't as bad. Mostly around here, it's just wet. It's damp.
So I have a quick question about the makerspaces. You said there was other people that were setting up other makerspace forts, some of the auxiliary forts for you. Now, are these all going to be like business, like in like businesses, or can they be in like someone's garage, or what's it's going to be very different from person to person. Okay.
Makerspace is actually technically an official term. I'm not sure if I should really be using it, but I've actually contacted them. They have a whole guide on how to set up a makerspace and things like how to deal with the insurance that you're going to need because you're going to have strangers around your power tools.
Yeah.
And options for getting funding, because makerspace again is an official thing. They do have organization. So it's going to be different for each one, and it's going to be depending on the person's means. I have the ability to eventually get a really nice big shop. I want at least 24 by 30 something foot shop. Other people, they might only have a small garage, and that's what they'll set up their space in. Other people, it may be in their living room that they just buy extra tools and invite people over. And it'll just grow as time goes on. Like I said, mine started out in this garage, which isn't huge, but mostly that's just because I have all my stuff stored in here. I'd have a lot more room if it wasn't, covered in blasters and trunks of armor and stuff like that. which is why that's another thing on the list of when I get my place is I'm not going to use the shop for storage. I will have separate storage for all the stuff, and the makerspace will just be workshop. So I've looked into, like getting shipping containers. Since I live near ports, both Portland and Seattle, you can get shipping containers for relatively cheap. And that's an excellent long-term storage solution that's also very secure. So yeah, it'll depend from place to place what they're able to set up and how they're able to do it. Oh,
okay. Because we had one here in downtown San Jose. It was like open all day, or like it had business hours and everything. It was set up right downtown. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be like all of them were going to be like this, kind of connected to yours, like all having their own business fronts and everything. So, but I think I'm kind of understanding the concept a little bit more now. You explaining it a little better.
Yeah. So. And I definitely, once I actually get to the point of needing to look into the insurance and actually have the space and all of that, we'll be looking, we'll be contacting Makerspace and reading their manual again. And I've got people who have set up similar things that are willing to help me out. It's just I haven't gotten to that point yet. And so it may be something that we do end up trying to coordinate as much as possible so that we can help each other out. And it may all just be completely independent. And like I said, I want mine to be as free of charge as possible, but other people may need to charge in order to cover their costs. I also do plan to have mine be available for more than just NERF. Because I have many other hobbies. So I have all of the tools necessary to make actual medieval plate armor. And I know people who are into that. I also want to get into more cosplay level, like professional level cosplay, because I've got, all sorts of cons up in Seattle and Emerald City down in Portland. And I know I have friends who are really into both NERF and cosplay, and I want to start getting into that. All the folks from Afterworlds with all of their costuming that they do and making their own foam weapons, I want to get into a lot more of that. And so my makerspace will expand and grow as more and more hobbies get involved. And I do want to be able to do like big events, like birthday parties for, friends, kids of friends and stuff like that, hosting the big event where they all come out and they have the big Nerf battle on the property and then go back to the makerspace and tinker with stuff, and possibly Boy Scout troops coming out and using the space, or Girl Scout troops, or, after school clubs, or, church groups or whatever. Yeah. And those sorts of things need to be scheduled ahead of time so that the space is available and I'm available. Whereas most of my Nerfing friends, it'll be just show up. You know where the place is. I work from home. I'm always here. Just let me know when you're coming. Yeah. Right on. Now let's switch gears here on, you do cosplay as well. How long have you been doing cosplaying, making the costumes and everything? I haven't. It was kind of part and parcel with the medieval recreation stuff, because you had to have garb that matched, and so I already knew how to sew. I'd learned how to sew back in high school, and so there was a lot of the armoring as well as garb making. Once I got into college, I had friends who were into steampunk stuff, and I worked on steampunk stuff, and I found a way to steampunk my armor by adding like an arm-mounted Gatling gun and gas masks, and while having parts of my plate involved, and I ended up creating what I called an airship marine, which looked vaguely like a space marine, but in steampunk fashion. It was actually a lot of fun. Yeah. And like I said, I've got another friend who is big into professional level cosplay, PK mods. And he's working on integrating NERF into his cosplay stuff. So he likes doing things like, if the character had like a wrist-mounted blaster or a wrist-mounted gun of some kind, he wants a wrist-mounted NERF blaster that actually functions. Or if they had, a big folding scythe that folded up into a gun, he made that functional using either a Caliburn or a Centurion. And that's just a level of cosplay that most people don't do. They either make it just decorative, whereas he wanted to make it decorative and functional, which is really, really cool. And that's another reason, once, like I said, I'm looking to get the makerspace further south than where I am, because if I can get far enough south, Walcom S7 is down there, Out of Darts is down there, Brett is down there, and PK Mods is down there. So So I'm hoping to get us all close enough that we can collaborate, more.
Yeah.
I've done collaborations with all of them already, but they're a little bit too far south to hang out too often, especially out of darts. What with having a family now, so I'd like to get a more central location that we can all come to and work on stuff together with. So yeah, I'll also be a lot closer to the folks who do Afterworlds, and so I'm hoping that they will then be able to come up and use the makerspace, which will help me get more into the costuming and the cosplay side.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think the whole makerspace idea is really cool. So, but you do plate armor. How did you get into making armor? Metal work and all that.
I first got into medieval recreation my senior year in high school. My sisters were going to college at the University of Idaho, and there was a chapter of an organization called the Empire of Adria there, which is a medieval recreation group that does actual steel combat as opposed to wooden or rattan combat. And they saw they had a booth set up at the mall that they were advertising for, and they signed me up. And so when I ended up going to the U of I as well, that was my primary hobby, and all of my time and energy went into that, and that was not necessarily good. But eventually I got to the point where I wanted to start fighting the heavier armored, and it turns out you can't buy a suit of armor at Walmart. And at the time, there really wasn't that much available on the internet yet. There's a lot more resources now than there were back in 2001 when I first got into it. And so it was also, buying armor was very, very expensive, but if you had the tools, making armor isn't very expensive. It's similar to NERF. The tools are the expensive part.
Yeah.
But a sheet of steel large enough to make a full suit of armor will cost you $70, $80. But you need shears, and you need hammers, and you need punches and drills and all of those other tools to be able to work the metal. But I had a lot of those tools available, and then just slowly acquired more over the years as I needed them. A lot of them I thrifted. Most of the hammers I got at Goodwill. Same with my drill was a secondhand drill, and then got the big power tools for Christmas from my mother or my father. They got me the drill press and the bandsaw and the belt sander and stuff like that. And so I just slowly but surely acquired all the tools necessary to make full suits of armor, and I've made a couple now.
Do you, I was just going to ask, do you take commissions on that kind of stuff?
I have. Right now, I simply do not have the time to do even the stuff I want to do, much less commissions for other people.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I love doing commissions because they come up with such interesting ideas. And it's neat to send somebody stuff and then see your blaster being used, a blaster that you built being used at a war. I was able to finally finish a mod exchange at PSU. A guy made me a Strife built into a Guitar Hero guitar.
Oh, sweet.
And I made him a Demolisher Firefly integration, where the Firefly is actually a removable stock that you can put onto the Demolisher, that he then ran in the war, and apparently it ran beautifully the whole time.
Nice.
I think I have pictures even in my video. I think there's at least one picture of him in the background with the Strife, or the blaster that I built.
Yeah, my absolute favorite blaster is a Demolisher. So any kind of integrations with a Demolisher, I freaking love them. So I so like the Firefly look too. So I got to check that out, man. I bet that looks pretty sweet. But we got a couple more questions that are popping up in the chat here. We have someone, Gears LGLF is asking, ask Captain if he got down at PSU. Did you get down?
Did I get down? I got down indeed. There was some dancing.
Oh, wow.
I got taken out. There's a long-standing tradition of the crew to randomly, spontaneously break into song and dance. Because
Nice.
we're all theater geeks.
Oh, okay.
And I've always loved dancing. I was on the ballroom dance team in college for a while and used to dance all the time. Oddly enough, of all the dangerous hobbies that I do, I've done rock climbing and real steel firing and armored combat and Olympic fencing and all of these hobbies that are very, very dangerous. the worst injury I have ever gotten was from ballroom dancing.
Wow, man.
Followed by kickball. I broke my leg playing kickball, and I herniated my lower back ballroom dancing. I'm still suffering from injury.
I don't know. I would like to see you ballroom dancing in your full freaking juggernaut outfit, dude. That would be pretty cool.
I've never ballroom danced in the heavy NERF. I have ballroom danced in full plate.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And I've done East Coast swing in full plate.
Oh, wow.
That was a bad idea. That is dangerous, it turns out. When your elbow comes to a point, you shouldn't dance on a crowded dance floor, it turns out.
We got another question from the Hypermodder. He's asking, have you looked into working with a place like the Bainbridge Island Artisan Resource Network to build onto an existing makerspace?
I have not. I've never even heard of that.
Neither have I.
Send me links.
Send links. Send links and bobs. All right, we had let's see. And Hypermodder asked another one. He said, how did you become a minister? And is there any more interesting facts about you that you would feel okay saying on the internet? I didn't know you were a minister, dude.
Yeah, I am a minister through the Universal Life Church, I believe. Let me check my card.
See, I'm learning all kinds of things today, guys.
Universal Life Church, which is the same minister or church that both my mother, the gnome, is a minister through, as well as the law speaker of the crew, Snorri, is a minister through them. And I became a minister because one of my oldest friends, I've known him since we were in 5th grade, was getting married. And he asked me if I was willing to become a minister and perform the wedding. And it was one of the greatest honors I've ever been given, quite frankly. And so I said, absolutely. So I asked both the law speaker and the gnome, hey, how did you do it? And I said, you go to this website, you fill out a thing, they send you a card, you're in. So I ended up performing his wedding. And as my holy book, I had a copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I wore a towel as my ministerial stole because we both read The Hitchhiker's Guide as kids together. And then I ended up performing my youngest sister's wedding as well a few weeks later, which was, again, one of those wonderful, wonderful opportunities. She had originally asked our mother to do it, and my mother was like, I don't think I would be able to make it through without just losing it. And I made it as far as by the power vested in me, and then was gone.
I was just going to ask, when did you lose it?
Right at the end. I made it right to the end, and then right during that, my voice cracked, and luckily I made it through, and then just bawled like a child.
Hey, man,
so it all worked out well in the end.
I hear you. Weddings get me too, man. Weddings get me. It's manly to cry, man. We got let's see here. Another few more questions were in here. What loadout is Cat planning on running at End War? And that is from Lightning Eagle 14.
I'm not entirely sure. Since it is a very long ways away, bringing a really heavy loadout is very problematic on an airplane. However, one of the crew is planning to drive, and they'll be taking a trailer. So we will be sending large or heavier loadouts, like Tyr will be going, Ire will be going, my flamethrower will be going. And even if I don't end up using them, I want to have them there for FoamCon so people can see them, because people want to see them. There is a good chance that I'll end up running something ridiculous at some point, probably not in the early missions. If I make it towards the end, I'll start packing heavier firepower. But in the off chance that he doesn't make it, there's some sort of a delay, a car breaks down, who knows what, I'll be bringing a lighter loadout, probably basically the same loadout I had at PSU, an Alpha Trooper and 2 hammer shots as my light backup loadout, just in case, because that I can get onto a plane.
All right, on. So do you normally fly to these HVZ events that you go to, or all these events?
Yeah, just because they're so far away.
I mean, is it hard bringing all this gear with you along, man? I mean,
No,
Not
I
at
mean
all?
they charge you for your first checked bag, but you know, as long as it's in checked luggage, they don't care. You can bring a real gun on checked luggage. You just can't bring it into the carry-on. Though oddly enough, you have to bring your lipos in your carry-on luggage
Yeah.
because they don't react well to low pressure. Bad things can happen if you put a lipo in the hold, which isn't pressurized. So you have to bring it
Okay.
into the cabin, which is fascinating because if you short out a lipo inside a compressor inside an airplane, bad things would happen. So there's no
Yeah.
good solution.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. I guess people can check, firearms too. So shouldn't be a big issue. I always just assumed anything that looks like a firearm would be like, oh, shut down the airport.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you tried to put it through, your carry-on, yeah. If even if it was clearly a Nerf blaster, they probably wouldn't allow it. Checked luggage, I usually end up with a little tag that says, we rifled through your luggage to see what this was. But,
It reminds me of
never had
Fight
a problem
Club.
with not having my luggage show up yet.
Reminds me of the part in Fight Club when he had the electric toothbrush when he said 9 out of 10 times it's.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, he's like, I don't own. And the guy's like,
yeah, it's a lot like that.
So take another couple of questions here. It's already, we're already been on for about an hour and 15 minutes. Goes by pretty quick. Question for Cap: why did the crew incorporate as a security company? See the Discord frequently asked questions.
No. Huh. We incorporated as a private security company for business reasons. When we first started doing the medieval stuff, we were only doing, as mercenary work inside the Empire of Adria. So we were generally paid in food or, equipment occasionally, but there wasn't any actual money taking place. And so we didn't have to worry about, that. But then we started branching out and we started volunteering at two of the larger Renaissance fairs in our area, the Greenwood Renaissance Fair and the Spokane Renaissance Fair. And we went as their militia. I'd gone and worked at a Ren fair in Wisconsin for a summer when I was visiting my father and learned how to do all the pike and musket stuff from the Elizabethan era of warfare. And so we showed up at Greenwood. We contacted Greenwood and said, hey, how would you like to have a pike block? And I thought, that would be awesome. We'd always wanted to have a pike block, but nobody here knows how to do it or has the equipment or the time or wants to be a soldier. They all want to be nobles or whatever. And so we showed up and we, had 16-foot spears and uniforms and armor and we're marching around and discipline and it looked really, really cool. And we got contacted by the professor of the local college and he said, would you be willing to come and do that for one of my history classes? And we said, sure, that sounds like fun. But they wanted to pay us. At which point we're going, well, are you just going to pay me and then I deal with it on my taxes? How are we going to do that? And we ended up having enough different people contact us that we realized we really need to form an LLC of some sort so that we can do all this business stuff through. And it gave us a lot more options. And then we branched out since we were already mercenaries. And a lot of us were already doing things like bouncing for clubs and site security for events and loss prevention. My sergeant major is actually a sergeant in the National Guard as well as a volunteer firefighter. So we branched out into all sorts of private security stuff. We did, again, site security. We did property protection. We did forced evictions for like squatters or things like that. Dangerous.
Oh, that was you? That was you who took me out of the house?
I knew I'd seen you somewhere before.
Oh, man. You wouldn't even let me go back in to get my phone charger.
No, you get nothing. At midnight, you're gone. We throw you out. Which is why we had all of the tactical gear. I mean, our plate carriers are real. They're not, cheap knockoffs. They're Condor, and we actually do have plates for them because we've kicked indoors.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and it's a very, because it was an LLC, we could do everything from military reenactment to military, to guest lecturing at colleges to site security at a construction site, bouncing at a club, stuff like that. it's largely it's less active now than when we all were young and full of piss and vinegar and we all lived in Moscow. We're now all so spread out. It doesn't come up too often. Every once in a while we do still get another job, and there are crew that are available and we'll go do it. But that's how it got started. Frankly, it was for tax reasons.
Oh, right on. That's pretty cool origin story, So yeah, that's pretty cool. How you started it, that way, and now you come to make the whole crew auxiliary from it. That's a pretty big jump, actually. Now you're over 1,000 deep, man. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's neat having crash space everywhere. It eliminates one of the bigger logistic problems of if I go to this event, where am I going to sleep at night? And now I've got crash space on 6 continents. I've lost track of how many countries. I mean, England, Australia, New Zealand, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Germany, France, pretty much every state in the Union.
Yeah, couches everywhere, brother. David James is asking, do you want to get food after this? And what is the next? Wait, were you asking him?
I was asking you if you want to get food after this.
Like what? It's like you asking him to get food after this? What are you talking about?
I will be having food after this, but I'm pretty sure you guys are a little out of my way.
Well, let's just eat it on the stream, dude. We're gonna have a mukbang. Mukbang, is that what it's called these days? What the kids all do with eating on camera? The mukbang.
Yeah.
And the ASMR.
We did that recently. Pizza and weird foods while taking things that made things taste funny.
He's apparently asking me if we're going to eat after this. And he's asking, what's the next big mod that you're planning for next year or this year?
Oh, that would be Ellen, wouldn't it? They're going to tell you?
Yeah, I guess what's the next big mod?
I have a couple big ones that I'm working on, and I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, well, come on. Come on.
That's how you get your ideas stolen. No. I've learned my lesson from that.
That's your Hasbro. Hasbro will put it out. It'll be a toy fair, next year.
I am really curious about the Titan, the new minigun, because I imagine Nerf's R&D is at least a couple of years ahead of what's getting currently released, at least.
Yeah.
Which means they probably had that thing prototyped before Tier came out, and they have to be so annoyed. Like, oh, this guy. Okay. Year from now, we're going to come out with ours, and it's just going to look silly and pathetic because of this schmuck.
Yeah, me and my buddy the Boom Friendo, were kind of talking about that too. How far back, the Nerf R&D department is kind of putting these ideas out there, and then by the time they come to fruition, they see similar things already being done. Let's see. Let me take one more question. Ask Cap the weirdest job he's ever done as crew.
Say that again.
Ask Cap what the weirdest job he's ever done as crew. Like with the crew, maybe. The weirdest job. Let's just make it broad. What's the weirdest job you've ever done?
Weird. There hasn't been a lot that would qualify as weird. We laid siege to a Toys R Us once. That was interesting.
Oh wow!
A lot of the stuff we've done for HVZ, there were some odd ones. One of the WSU HVZ got really good at using us for game balance and for making the games more interesting. And once we finally managed to drive home the concept that whatever role you want us to play, give us enough notice and we will make it happen. Mm-hmm. We are costumers. We are, builders. If you want a specific role, just give us a couple of weeks notice and we can get the stuff put together. And so they reached out to us and said, hey, can you guys do the National Guard? My sergeant is a sergeant in the National Guard.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do the National Guard. So they asked us, okay, we've got this mission that we want, and we really want the a National Guard contingent. So Kyle was able to get us all matching sets of the previous generation of uniform. The ACR had came out, so he was able to get us the Woodland camo, which had been retired, so it was now free use.
Yeah.
So we all showed up in full matching National Guard uniforms, and we got to play the National Guard. And what our role was is they had a pile of supplies that the humans were trying to get a hold of, and half of the supplies were spread out around campus, and they could just go look for it. The other half was with us, but they had to come and ask us for them. And they told us, make it as annoying as possible. We want the humans to attack you. I don't know why they wanted the humans to finally snap and attach the National Guard, but they did. So we're all there with matching strifles and in our uniforms looking very officious, and I've got a clipboard, and the humans come up in this huge mob being chased by the entire zombie horde. They're like, give us the supplies, we need the supplies. And they're like, form an orderly line, please. And they formed an orderly line. And I'm scribbling on my notebook, making notes, and the guys in the back of the line are just getting slaughtered by the zombies. And finally I go, all right, first, sign here, initial here, sign here, initial, sign, initial.
Nice.
A few more seconds. Issue this man one piece of supply. A little bit more. Next.
Yeah.
I figured they'd allow that for like 3 seconds and then they'd just open fire. No, they went through the whole line one at a time. Half of them never made it. They died. And then the zombies attacked them. And we put up a good fight, and then we got wiped out. It was fantastic. But that was pretty silly. That was a lot of fun.
Wow, that is pretty cool the way that how that went down though. It's pretty amazing too. And let me ask you this: how did you get started on the YouTubes? How did you start making the videos?
It is entirely the fault of Walcom S7.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Pretty sure I owe him money. I had created a YouTube channel years before, I think, because I thought, with all this medieval stuff and all this crew stuff, I mean, there's probably something here I could do a channel with, but I didn't have a camera and I had no idea what I was doing, so I had never posted a video. Then I went to my first Nerf war after moving here back in 2016. I had some friends who had gone to WSU. They were good friends of mine that had been involved in that HVZ, and one of them is now crew. And they said, hey, there's this Nerf war going on, not too far from you. We're going to go to it. You should come. And so I was like, sure, why not? So I got all of my ridiculous heavy loadout on, which is a bad idea for a Nerf war, but I didn't know that at the time. And I rolled into this Nerf war. And Walcom S7 was there. And I had no idea that he was going to be there. I had seen his channel in the past. So it was kind of, oh, good Lord, a celebrity. And he saw my loadout and was like, I have to do a video on this. And he had actually seen a build that I'd done previously, my Drain Blaster Bazooka, which is actually right here. This
nice
thing. I had made that and had posted it onto the Facebook group, and he'd seen it, and everyone had seen it, and they all thought it was really cool. And then I showed up with it, as well as my full heavy absurd loadout with the shoulder cannon and ire and the whole 9 yards. And so he did a video on it, as well as I had 3 different shoulder cannons that I had built at that point. I had a shoulder-mounted Titan, a shoulder-mounted Scorpion, and a shoulder-mounted Speed Swarm. And so he did videos on all of those. And, he asked, I was going by, I don't think I used the name Captain Xavier in that video, which confused a lot of people who see it now and are like, wait, isn't that Captain Xavier? Did this guy steal all his ideas? Like, no, that's me. But next thing I knew, I was going on YouTube and noticed a whole bunch of notifications and looked into them, and I had 750 subscribers, and I'd never posted a video.
Oh, wow.
They're all sending me messages going, we want videos, show us all of your stuff, do the thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's how it started, and that's how it escalated to where it is today. Because I'd already built the workshop, because I knew I wanted a workshop, so I already had that built.
Yeah.
And I finally figured out how to use YouTube and edit videos, and it's still, my production quality is every bit as poor as it always was. It's just, the content is interesting, at least. But that's something I'm hoping to improve when I get the makerspace, is actually build a dedicated workspace that is designed to be filmed, because this workshop wasn't. and so it doesn't film well. But I want to be able to have a workbench that's got camera mounts that are at different angles, and actually have a studio area like I have behind me. Every time I go to do a video like this where I've got this wall behind me, I have to move a whole bunch of stuff and move my laptop and move my webcam, and I want to have an area in the worker space that is an actual studio specifically designed to be filmed in front of. So hopefully my production quality will be improved. I'll probably finally buy video editing software instead of just using Windows Movie Maker, which means I'll have to learn how to use it, and it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, your videos already look really good. At least I think they do. So
well, I found a way to make it really simple. It just films my workbench. I don't have to worry about lighting or all of that, and I've got a mic that plugs in, and like my war footage is still absolutely atrocious, and that's something I really want to work on.
Mine is too.
Someone I've heard unless you have a dedicated cameraman, it's gonna be choppy, but someday.
Right on. Well, I'm just gonna ask you just 2 more questions, man, and then we'll go ahead and end this. It's been about an hour and a half. I don't like to make these too long because the whole YouTube algorithm thing doesn't like them when they're super long. So
yeah.
So here's one last 2 questions I ask everybody. First one is what are your thoughts on the state of the Nerf community at the moment? Like, how do you feel about where we are and the direction we're going?
I'm much more optimistic now than I was even like a year and a half ago. The growth of large invitational events, Ragnar Oktoberfest, End War, West vs. Zombies, the PSU game getting as large as it is, Project My Neighborhood, Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, having those big events, some of which are nationally televised even, has been very positive in a lot of ways of getting people interested, spreading the fact that our hobby exists, as well as giving it a certain level of legitimacy. Things like the Blaster Tag Association, that's again pointing out that this isn't just us running around in a park shooting at us. There is actually a sport being created here, with actual competitions and rules and regulations and true competition. I really, really like that. And the thing that I love about the concept of like Blaster Tag Association is it gives an outlet for the people that are really into the hardcore heavy modding, the types of builds that you couldn't use in a public Nerf war, or you couldn't use in an HVZ because you can't take a 200 FPS blaster to a public park, or you shouldn't, because if you hit a passing jogger with that, bad things are going to happen. You're going to get the whole club banned from that park. You can't take a 200 FPS blaster to an HVZ because it's literally all point blank range. You're going to seriously hurt somebody. But there are people that are into that level of engineering, and it's cool. I love it too, saying just how far can I take this build? And then you don't have anywhere to use it. But the Blaster Tag Association and some of the stuff that I have planned will give an outlet to those where it'll be, okay, this is only high-level stuff, and it's on private property, so you don't have to worry about hurting anybody. You don't have to worry about kids. You don't have to worry about civilians. And we can really cut loose and really see where we can take the engineering of this hobby. And seeing more of that pop up, more private events that are geared towards those people, I think it's a really good thing because it gives them somewhere to play, to have their fun without endangering other people and without endangering the hobby. Because that's the real risk of somebody getting hurt in a public place is next thing you know, Nerf isn't allowed in public places anymore, just like airsoft and paintball aren't. That's one of the huge advantages our hobby has, is we can still play in a public park because Nerf is seen as harmless. Well, if we make it clear that that's not necessarily the case, then even the harmless Nerfers won't be able to play in a public park. And I worry about that, especially in the atmosphere in the US today. And a lot of people do. They're worried about people showing up in tack gear, and they're worried about painted blasters, and for good reason. And I mean, that's something it's nice that the community is increasingly aware of that. And that, I think, speaks very highly of the community. And things like the Auxiliary and other organizations that are fighting back against the toxicity in the hobby, I've seen a lot more of that, and I really, really am happy about that. So I have high hopes for it.
Awesome. You have a very optimistic look, man, and I agree with everything that you said. I think that you know, I do hear a lot about the toxicity in the internet community, and I've not seen very much of it since I've been doing this, and I've been, you know, in the hobby for about a year now, and on YouTube almost a year. So and everybody has been like super supportive, and you know, super helpful. So I do see a lot of positivity in this community. You know, it's like if someone is doing, you know, someone had, like Aldous had an issue with his equipment went down where he films the CQB, and someone started a GoFundMe for him, and it was like immediately it got to its goal. It surpassed its goal to replace his camera and the things that he needed to get fixed. So you know, it's just the community is so cool, and they always surprise me with their generosity and their support. So yeah, it's a great community, and I'm super happy to be a part of it personally. Also, my second question for you is, what advice do you have for the newcomers that are just getting into the hobby right now? What is some advice you would give to them? Research is actually remarkably important when you get into any kind of a hobby, because a lot of them, when they're absolutely brand new, they have absolutely no concept of how deep this rabbit hole goes. The sheer wealth of knowledge that exists. There are so many channels that have educational videos and so many resources. We have so many now suppliers in the US and in other countries that can provide you with all of the materials that you need, the motors, the switches, the wires, all on one website with, you know, good customer service and good shipping. As opposed to going to some of the overseas options, Lytake and NStrike, and while they give me free stuff, their shipping and their customer service is abysmal, but that's the trade-off for the fact that their stuff is so cheap. You know, if you want it to be super cheap, costs are gonna get cut somewhere, and it tends to be in the customer service and the shipping, and so it'll take a month for you to get your stuff, and if you call them, they're not gonna have any information. You know, that's why we pay for Amazon Prime, so we don't have that, but you know, and pace yourself. There's a lot to do and a lot to get into, and you don't want to jump straight into the super heavy stuff, in my opinion. I mean, if you have the skills already, if you know how to solder and you understand electrical circuits, yeah, you can go straight to rewiring a rapid strike. But if you're just starting out, start with a Springer. Learn to take it apart, learn to put it back together. Learn how all of the locks and stuff interact with each other, and that's just a matter of opening it up and moving parts around and seeing what they do. In addition to, there are videos out there that explain it. I try to do as many as I can on, you know, a beginning mod guides. The other thing that you can research is the location of events. What's one of the things that the auxiliary has been awesome for is people coming on and going, are there any groups near this town? And having 3 or 4 other auxiliary that are within, you know, maybe an hour driving distance going, yeah, I'm over here and there's no one nerfing here. And another one goes, yeah, well, I'm a half hour away. There's nobody nerfing here. Hey, let's all meet up in this park in between, and we'll start a nerf war. And, you know, Facebook is great for that. Most established clubs will have a Facebook page that's where they post their schedules and their events. All the big events, of course, have Facebook pages. There used to be, and there may still be, a map that has all of the active clubs throughout the country. I don't know how often it gets updated. Yeah, I saw that not too long ago, posted somewhere, and it seemed pretty up to date from what I could tell of things. But yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, I eventually want something similar for the auxiliary. You know, a map showing where the concentrations of auxiliary are, so that they can connect. Because there were some they were in the same town as each other, and neither of them had any idea that there was anyone else in that town that was into NERF. And then they looked into it. Turns out there was a whole club in that town doing NERF that neither of them knew about, and so they all got to get in on that. So yeah, do a little bit of research. Not everybody has great skills in Google Foo, but it definitely helps. And that's another thing that I try to encourage in the auxiliary is, if somebody comes onto the auxiliary board and asks a question that we all know the answer to because we've been in the hobby for years, you don't tell them to just go Google it. Yeah.
Send them a link to it, or give them the keywords to search, because that's the hardest part. You could search for hours for Google for something and find nothing because you're using the wrong keyword. I ran into that trying to build my computer desk. It took me months to find the right keyword to find the parts to build that thing. And the same thing can happen for NERF if you just don't know where to search or what to search. Saying Google isn't going to help you. Saying try Googling this, that's a useful piece of information. They can then go type that into Google. And yeah, it turns out there's a club an hour away. I can make that commute, or I might be able to carpool with someone, or And so research, a little bit of research goes a long ways.
Awesome, man. Really good advice, man. When I was getting into this, I researched like crazy. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind. And also meetup.com is a great site. And there's a lot of clubs that actually have pages on Meetup. Our club has a Meetup page. So that's actually how I ran into this group out here in San Jose. So yeah, Meetup is a awesome spot to find clubs and groups. Yeah, anything else you wanted to say before you jam there, Captain?
Bangarang.
Bangarang. You heard it, guys. Thank you so much for taking time out today and speaking with me on this stream. I really do appreciate it, man.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, and I look forward to everything that you have coming up in the future, man.
Oh, there will be stuff. It's going to be a busy year.
Awesome. I look forward to it, my friend. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Captain.
Yep.
All right, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for stopping by today. Make Test Battle. Thank you for coming by. I don't think I've seen you in one of my streams. Hey, remember you to subscribe. Yeah, thank you so much for coming by, guys. I do appreciate the support. It's really cool. It's really awesome having Cap on here and having you guys be very active and asking a lot of questions. That really helps keep the stream interesting for me too, at least, because there was a lot of things that I did not know about Cap myself. And, so I was learning a lot about him and about the auxiliary and his other hobbies and everything. I was learning all about that right now, as some of you were. So thank you for asking some of these questions in there. Really appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to the guys that were here. Make Test Battle. Shori Schnorri Bajorn. I'm messing that up. I'm so sorry. Monkeytron. Thank you so much. Scooter Girl, Big Al. You guys are awesome. Mitch Gurrell. Thank you. NorCal Nerf Club. Lightning Eagle. American Foam. TJ, the Hypermodder. Luchathor13. Thank you. Boom Tendo, the Boom Friendo. Thanks, man, for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow at BTA. Let's see. Tisha Key. Hey, my love. I didn't see you stop in. Thanks for coming by. I know you were busy. Clowny, you stopped in. Thanks, my friend. David James, I appreciate your help here. Thank you so much. Guys, my DBN and my stream kind of stops at some point up there. But I know Homely was here. Cali Nerf was here. A lot of you guys came tonight. If you guys, this is your first time finding your way onto my stream, I do these once a week, just about. Bring on another person from the community and talk to them for about an hour or so on the streams. If you guys like what you see, like what you hear, or if you just like me, make sure you subscribe, man. And on this video or this stream, make sure you like the smash button. It does help. And check out some of my other content. I do have other things here. I'm not just a one-trick pony, guys. Come on. I kind of am, actually. So, but yeah, I do appreciate it. Even if you are just here because Cap was here and you guys just wanted to see him, I still appreciate you coming by. I do have the Patreons. If you guys want to help support the channel and get some shout outs and get your links in the description of the videos, I have that. The links in the description for $1 to $5 $1 a month up to $5 a month. It really does help me out so much. And the PayPal, I got that as well. And the link is in the description below. I got the tweeters. I got the Instagrams. I got the Facebooks. Those are all in the description or in the about section of my channel. So give me a follow. I'm easy to talk to, guys. You know, I got a t-shirts that look a lot like that logo there, except in shirt form. And that's on my Etsy. If you guys want to get a Broke Nerfing t-shirt, you know, rep the broke set at your next Nerf war. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys a lot for stopping by. I appreciate it. And keep on keeping on. I wish I had something intelligent to say. Oh, and the winner of tonight's giveaway, who is going to get the $250 gift card to Amazon Prime, is